And good morning. Well, a strange morning as it is, as most of you are aware, our center is now closed once again as a precautionary measure. We will be closed until November. But we are here, that would be Jules and I, we are here with bells on to make sure that you have our Sunday service. So even if you're home, turn off your cell phones and don't text during the service, because you know I do take it personally. So just having fun with you today. My squeaky voice is definitely not COVID, it's a sinus infection, so there are no germs being spread here. So our vision for our spiritual home is a spiritual community of love, peace, and acceptance. And our mission here is creating an inclusive spiritual community through fellowship, service, and community outreach. So this morning I am going to read the daily word, and then I'm going to ask Jules if she will come up and light the Christ candle and light the flames of faith for us. So the word of the day is devotion, and devotion inspires me to serve. So when we believe, and this is so prevalent to what my talk is about, when we believe in a person, a cause, or an organization, I express devotion. I may volunteer to help feed the hungry, visit retirement facilities, or read to children. I open my mind and heart to God and discern the best way to invest my energies. My commitment blesses me as much as the person or the cause which I am devoting, because devotion inspires me as an expression of God. It encompasses love, enthusiasm, faith, strength, and a powerful expectation of imagination. I am filled with energy and direction. I need to make a difference in the world. I am planting seeds of possibility. As I tend to these seeds, growth takes place, as my devotion makes a positive difference to those I serve. And from Timothy, put these things into practice. Devote yourself to them so that all may see your progress. Now, if Jules will come and join me for our flames of faith in lighting the Christ candle first.
I light the Christ candle to remind us of the light within each of us. It is the power by which we live, move, and have our being.
And as Jules said, why do we do the flames of faith? I'm ready to jump right in there, Jules, and light candles with you. So we perform this ceremony to promote the universal consciousness of life, which acknowledges that all peoples, all faiths, all sentient beings come from the one great universal principle, which we call spirit. Fundamental to this truth is the underlying nature of all religious thought and experiences, which we honor here today. So as Jules lights the first candle, we light that candle for the Tao, honoring the universal path of harmony, equilibrium, the natural way. We light a candle for the shamanic traditions, honoring the beliefs and the practices of all indigenous people, the way of primal spirituality. We light a candle for Hinduism, honoring the path of knowledge, action, and devotion. We light a candle for Judaism, honoring the ethical path of living by sacred law. We light a candle for Buddhism, honoring the Four Noble Truths and the path of compassion. We light a candle for all forms of Christianity, honoring the Christ consciousness as the path of love. We light a candle for all forms of Islam, honoring the path of submission to the will of God, the highest calling. We light a candle for the universalistic religion of Baha'i, honoring the path of unity and peace. We light a candle for all forms of new thought, honoring the metaphysical path of mental healing through the practice of universal spiritual principles. And we light a candle for those who are yet unaware of the power and the presence of spirit in their lives, and for the space that we are holding for them at this center and for all religions unnamed in this ceremony. And thank you, Jules, for doing that for us today.
You're welcome.
So we're on week 4, creating a world that works for all. And today I'm going to speak about taking off the blinders. According to many, including Eric Butterworth, Jesus was the greatest metaphysician that walked the face of the earth. He truly knew the meaning of affirmative prayer. An interesting fact, Butterworth's book, Discover the Power Within You, was first written in 1968. So why do we need to know this? Because he says in 1968, we are living in a world of discovery. And we still are, 52 years later. The same is true of the book Creating a World That Works for All, written in 1998. It is as prevalent today as it was in 1998. So what this tells me as a society, we pick and choose what's easy to adhere to, and for the rest, and we want to be a good person, and by that I mean all of humanity, not you guys that are always used to be sitting here. And the thing that we do not want to think about, that we could do better, we kind of push it out of our consciousness. And we ignore it and say, hey, I'm doing the best that I can do. And people will say, well, that's all you can do. But my question is, why do we want to just do the best we can do? Why don't we want to do more, do better? So here's what I need for you to think about, and it's from Christopher Reeve. Christopher Reeve says, I think we all have a little voice inside of us, and it will guide us if we shut out all the noise and clutter from our lives. It is telling us the right thing to do. So do we push what we don't want to deal with deep down into our consciousness, or do we step up, shut up the noise, and follow the path to the right thing to do? Because come on, I always know when I'm stepping back a little bit, when I should be stepping forward a little bit. And I believe if we're all honest, we all do that. So the greatest gift to mankind, besides life then, is man's ability to think. Like, I like you. And sometimes we forget that through the power of thought, we connect with the mind of God, universal mind. So if we could remember that the universe only says yes, we would be so careful with what we put into mind, with a capital M. What is it that we're putting out into the universal intelligence? So if I were to ask you today to take off your blinders, what would that look like to you? Blinders to what? Attitude, unwillingness to listen to another point of view, everything is just fine, expecting others to do the work to change and just to sit back and do nothing. Sit back and let others do the work and say there's enough out there doing it. What I do wouldn't matter. That's not true. Anytime we step up and step out and go beyond our comfort zone, we matter. How can we sustain this planet in the direction that we're going right now? How? I'm not talking about us at Unity Spiritual Center. I'm not talking about Sheboygan. I'm not talking about Wisconsin. I'm not talking about the United States of America. I'm talking about the world. How can we sustain our planet in the direction that we're going to? Or looking at it from a different point of view, are we walking our talk? See, when you speak your word, is it for the highest and best for yourself and for all of humanity? So when confronted with this level of questioning, It's so easy to say, hey, I'm doing the best I can. Is that a cop-out? You decide. In the Bible, Matthew writes from the Sermon on the Mount, ye are the salt of the earth. But if the salt has lost its savor, where shall it be salted? It is thenceforth good for nothing, but to be outcast, trodden under the foot of men. Oh, so what does this mean exactly? It means if we have lost the zest for life, if we've lost the flavor of life, then we need to change our thoughts. See, it only takes a pinch of salt. How many of you are cooks in here? I know a lot of you at home are laughing. How come if you taste the stew, you taste the soup, and you say it just needs a pinch more of salt? So if it only takes a pinch of salt then to change the soup or stew, then it will take the light bearers, those that are the menders, to walk their talk to create a world that works for all. Ernest Thomas from Science of Mind used to say, give me 1,000 people, 1,000, and let me teach them, and we could change the world. 1,000 people. But there's some caution that I would like you to think about. And the caution is this: before you go jump into action, before you pick a cause to heal the world, you need to know where you're coming from. It's like when a prayer chaplain or a practitioner does prayer work, the first thing that they do is pray to clear their own mind of false opinions. If my best friend comes to me and says, I have cancer, do prayer for me, I can't pray, excuse me, for that until I remove that diagnosis from my own being and see my best friend as perfect, whole, and complete. Once I clear my being, then I am able to go to that higher place. So it's the same thing. We have to clear our mind of false opinions and negative thoughts. So when you join a cause, it's so important to know you're coming for love. So if you're doing this to be obligated or to show off, or your ego says, hey, look at me, look what I'm doing, that's not good. Because the energy you're bringing into that organization isn't the energy that they need. And I hope that that is making sense to you. It's always important to check your motives first before you swing into action. So in our world, it's so important not to substitute one kind of cruelty for another. Meister Eckhart says it's not by our actions that we will be awakened, but by our being. So it's important, going back to the prayer chaplain or the practitioner, you take a step back first. You take a step back and you allow the peace of God to come through you. And you will be awakened what to do and how to do it by that small voice within. So the question is, as I go about changing what I think I'm capable of doing, are you coming from pure love? Is it in your heart space? So how do we deal with this? Is there a checklist to go by? No one wants to be responsible for creating any more havoc in our world. So to make a change, we must wake up to wanting to be that change. Putting this into action, it's not easy, and I know that. But I truly believe that it's time when this is what we truly want to do. So let's look at a possible checklist. Identify the negative as well as the good feelings you have. Deal with the negative and move forward with the good. Not dwell in the negative, not get lost in your story, the pity party. Deal with it. Deal with it once and for all and move forward to the good, your good, the good of your family, your friends, your town, and so on and so on and so on, up the ladder. Understand that all your feelings are in you. They're not out in the world. The world didn't do this to you. You create your reality. You create your reality. God didn't do it. Your mother didn't do it. You did it. It's not good or bad. It just is. It's not like, okay, all of this is going on and I did it. No, it's we, humanity, created the reality of what we're in right now. So it is up to us to create a new reality. Change your thinking, change your life. Change your thinking, embody the newness, and change your life. There's a few little steps that have been left out in this teaching. Believing in one thing. So we have a lot of good people, and a lot of good, great people believe in goodness. But the way they behave is a completely different story. Belief is easy. Behavior is another story. Understand this with me. When you change, the whole world changes around you. This I know for a fact. And I read something the other day that kind of released me from some of the guilt that I've carried in my own life. And it says, the best way to have forgiveness, the best way and the best apology is change your behavior. Change your behavior. And wow, that was like a release for me, because we all have things that we've done that we're not proud of. I was talking to Annie one day, and we were talking about something in the past, and she goes, yeah, that wasn't your finest moment. You're right, Annie, it wasn't. But the behaviors changed, and that's the only way that you can give a true apology. And this is a final thing to remember. Remember that we see people and things not as they are. We see them as we are. So if we're a cynical, miserable person, we're going to see cynical and miserable people. It's all our perspective, come hell or high water. This isn't hell and damnation. It's just the truth of the reality. And sometimes we have to say it like it is. We see people as we are. We see situations as we are, from our perspective, from our life. So responsibility, trust, respect, honesty, common sense, those are the things that can start to create this world that works for all. If only everybody did what is right. Can we imagine no hurtful stories in the news? Truth be told, we can't. Maybe a few, I'm not saying everybody, but if we could start imagining it, if we could even change our thought about that. There is so much, at the end of, I don't care what channel it is, at the end of every news, they put it, they put in that one great story, but there's more than one great story going around. And I ask you that when we come back together again and when our doors are fully open again, come up and let's share some of those good stories that you heard in this 6 months, 9 months, whatever this COVID time is going to be. See, the enemies of our world are the adverse attitudes and the beliefs in the world. And the sword is the word. Jesus tells us that we are radiant centers of the truth in the world. We are radiant centers of the truth of the world. But he also warns us to be mighty sure that your awareness of truth is dynamic and not static. So what does that mean? It's about self-knowledge. And unfortunately, or maybe not, it comes back to us. Darn, it always comes back to us. Remember the saying, with all thy getting understanding? Know thyself. Be sure your salt is not losing its flavor. Don't become complacent. Re-engineerize yourself. So incorporating then all that is going on in our world is a mighty task. I'm sure you agree with that. And I can't imagine saying in the good old days, anywhere in the future, about 2020. I don't think 2020 is ever going to be in the good old days. Yet there's a big task at hand. So let us imagine for a minute that we just decide from this moment that we're going to walk our talk right here, right now. All of you are that out there listening, myself and Jules. Okay, we're all going to start walking our talk right this second. We're going to stick religiously to our core values. How many times have I asked you, do you have core values? What are your core values? Have you written down your core values? What are your core values of your family? Do you have a vision? Do you have a mission? So how are we going to stick religiously to our core values? And come on, we all have moments when our behaviors are out of sync with the beliefs that we hold deep inside. But most of those out of sync behaviors are so unintentional. So unintentional. And it takes a conscious effort and persistence and some courage and tons of discipline to walk our talk. If it was easy, it wouldn't be such a challenge. If it were easy, we would do it all the time. I know every one of you had moments of sheer brilliance and achievement, and you hit the bullseye smack dab in the center. And other times we miss the target altogether, and that's simply called missing the mark. So who amongst us couldn't use a little more target practice? I could. Jules just raised her hand too. And you know, we're always working at it. We are. We're good people. We're never totally there. I'm still afraid to try to walk on water, believe me. And I can't swim, so you know that. We're never totally there. And the good bad news is this. The challenge starts right here, right now, and it starts over and over and over again every single day. So here are 5 things I want you to think about. Words to live by are just words, unless you actually live by them. Jane Goodall, and we know who she is, tells us we could change the world tomorrow if the millions of people around the world acted the way they believed. Remember I said a few minutes ago, belief is easy, the action is hard. You are what you do, so be aware of your actions, be aware of your thoughts. But everything you do counts. There is never a wrong time to do the right thing. You know, I read a story, and I'm sure it's old, but some tennis player, I think his name was Gonzalez, way a long time ago, or I don't know how long a time ago it was, but anyhow, it was his first time to win the big whatever. And he did this one shot, and it was the last shot, and he won. But then he stepped up to the microphone and he said, no, it hit the wall and bounced. It wasn't in the boundary. And there was this complete silence. And of course, then they resumed the game and the other guy won. And they said, why would you do that? And it was about his character. It was about his integrity. He did not win and he couldn't take that trophy. How many would do that? Everything you do counts. There's never a wrong time to do the right thing. And number 4, the golden rule is still pure gold. This is perhaps the most simple and profound universal guide to human interaction. Here is a thought. We have committed the golden rule to memory. How about if we start committing it to life? See, we know this stuff. We know all this stuff, but do we embody it? Is it ingrained in our being? Have we You know, the DNA is all twisted like this. It's this beautiful thing. Have we put all of what we know, and have we start to begin to twist it in with our DNA and make it who we really are? And number 5, character is the key. The story I just told you. So we have to focus on our strengths, not our weaknesses. Focus on your character, not your reputation. And focus on your blessings, not your misfortunes. So in the past 3 weeks, we've talked about the keepers, the indigenous people who believe all is sacred and nature is the guide. And the breakers, that consciousness is all about me. Breakers are the takers of our society. And it's a consciousness as well as actions of people. And the menders, those who are stepping up to save the planet and our world. But going back to character, it doesn't matter where you are. What matters is what you're going to do this very minute. No matter what happened yesterday, it's over. It is done, it's over. What are you going to do this very minute? So going with me, knowing that the character is the key, again, I say to you, focus on your strengths, not your weaknesses. Focus on your character, not your reputation. Focus on your blessings, not your misfortunes. So as we go into some quiet time, maybe you could sit up straight on your couches and put down your coffee. Just take a deep breath. And ask yourself, what am I committed to? What values are important to me? What are my core values? How committed am I to creating a world that works for all? How then can I be a role model for others? My family, children, my friends. In this moment, I am filled with the presence, the uplifting, all-knowing Holy Spirit. And this inner presence is in and through all. I receive from this magnificent fountain of all life, knowing. To receive, I must be an empty vessel, willing to let go of yesterday, to accept the newness of who I am and what I am and what is mine to do. This day, I release everything that is unlike divine nature and allow myself to be in accord with perfect harmony with all life. This is all good, this is God, and this is my new life right here and right now in this very moment. And so it is. Amen. It is done. Lots to think about today for me and for all of you. So our offertory prayer today, The love of God inspires me to give in a spirit of generosity. I give with love and joy to ensure the growth of this ministry and this Unity Center. And it is so. And thank you, God. And regarding love offering, obviously none of you are here except for Jules and myself. And what I would like to say is normally we do deposits on Tuesday, but we're going to move them to Thursday so that all of you that are so inclined can mail or even drop off, just knock at the door and Jules will take your money, but she won't let you in. And this is what we've decided to do. No one enters the building except for myself and Jules and Tom at night when no one's here to do the daily word, and of course David, our treasurer. So we will do deposits on Thursdays instead of Tuesdays, which gives you enough time to mail them, drop them off, or if you're so inclined to do PayPal. But just be aware that in PayPal, of course, we do have to pay for for that use of that mechanism or venue, whatever you want to call it. So. We have a thank you here I want to read to you. And this says, Dear Reverend Aubrey Lynn, Board of Trustees and Unity Friends, thank you all so much for the wonderful cards, flowers, and cake I received for my birthday/retirement. I appreciate your thoughtfulness and prayers during this pandemic. Not an easy time for any of us. I look forward to seeing you all again in person and collecting lots of hugs. Blessings to you all, Leanne. Thank you, Leanne. We love and bless you as well. The book club is going to resume, but not at the center. Jules and I will be setting up a Zoom meeting, and we'll get that information out to you as quickly as we can. And the Men's and Women's Club has been postponed for now, and David and Diane will get back to you as soon as we feel it's safe to reopen our doors again. And our annual meeting, by bylaws is supposed to be October 25th, and the board is having a Zoom conference tomorrow to discuss that. And my hunch is that we might do it here. I've asked Tom Kloiber, who's our maintenance person on the board, to find somebody and get all of our windows open. And if we have all of our windows open and our doors open, it's very possible that while I'll do the service without anybody here, then the rest of you can come in for the meeting. That's not definite yet, but that's kind of the tentative plan right now. And Jules will get out an announcement to you as soon as the board makes a final decision. It is extremely important that you do attend in whatever form we figure out the annual meeting, and we will be voting on the new bylaws that have been given to us by Unity Worldwide Ministry, and that will not take a lot of time. We will present the 3 candidates for the new board, which is Susan Kilton and Dirk Schreiber and Carrie Smith, and we will present them, and there will be a vote there. And all we have to do is read last year's minutes, and David Pauly, our treasurer, will present the new budget, which he and I have just finished, and say goodbye to our old board, welcome our new board, and the meeting will be over. I don't see it even taking longer than 45 minutes. So a lot to think about, a lot going on, and we will get back to you just as quickly as we can. So for right now, I would just like to say goodbye, God bless, stay well, stay safe, wear your mask, and when you can, stay home. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.